Hi my lovely people, how you guys doing? I hope you guys are doing well. Welcome to our community, welcome to our channel. In today's video guys, I'm going to talk to you about some statements that I always make to people when I'm talking to people about social work. I always say that social work is not 9 to 5 job. Social work is not walking in the park. It's not an easy job. Social work is not going to the office and drinking cup of tea with your friends, your colleagues, and hanging out with your colleagues and hanging out with your friends. Social work, guys, can be described as very challenging. Social work, guys, can be described as very overwhelming. Social work, guys, have got its difficulties. So in today's video, I'm going to talk to you about some of the difficulties, some of the challenges that you are likely to come across when you come to do social work. I'm not here to scare you. As a matter of fact, I'm here to empower you. Hence, I'm going to tell you some of the reality of social work so you'll be well informed, so you'll be well empowered when you come into it. When the reality hits you, when you get into the challenges of it, then at least you are well prepared and you are well informed. But in social work, especially within the children in care team, especially within the safeguarding team, which is the frontline child protection team, when we are working within the children's services, definitely I know because I've worked in the children in care team, I've worked in the frontline child protection team, I've worked in the safeguarding team, so I work in the court team, I've done practice placement in the fostering team, so I know who I'm talking about. Running around is something that you're going to be dealing with when you come into social work. Unfortunately, some of the clients that you're going to work with, especially children who are at school, sometimes children have got activities that they have to go after school activities. So sometimes, unfortunately, you have to do late visits. So you're going to be going to your clients, the family home or the placement around 4 o'clock and get home around 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, sometimes 8 o'clock, depending on how far you need to travel. Unfortunately, there are a number of running around that you have to encounter when you come into social work. You're going to be doing some of your visits out of borough within the local authority where you're going to work in. You might have to do visits out of that borough and travel outskirts of London or even outside of London to do your visit. I've had my fair share of running around, going outside London to do visits. That is part and parcel of the reality of social work, especially within the children in care team. And children, even the frontline child protection team as well. Children's services, I can confidently say that when you come into children's services, there are a number of running around out of borough visits that you may have to do. Some of the reality of social work is that when you come into the children's services, you might have to do prison visits. Some of the prisons, you have to follow their timetable. You have to either go early in the morning, very early in the morning, sometimes in the afternoon, sometimes late in the afternoon, and you have to travel. Even if it's 2 hours traveling, 3 hours traveling, you need to do prison visits. It's part and parcel of working with children who are perhaps in prison or who are perhaps have committed crime and they are in prison, and you as a social worker for the client will have to do your visits. Guys, another reason why I say social work is not a walk in the park, another reason why I say social work is not about going to the office and drinking a cup of tea and hanging out with your colleague, it's about dealing with crisis. When you come into social work, you're going to deal with a number of crises, and that's part and parcel of a social work. That's part and parcel of a role of a social worker. Dealing with crisis of your clients is something that you're going to face when you come into social work. Guys, let me be honest with you. When you come into social work, you're going to deal with a number of crises, which includes trauma for your clients, crisis that has come out, domestic violence that has come out, argument between your client that has come to the attention of police and they have done the referral to social services, children's services, and you perhaps on duty, you need to carry it out and you need to assess the situation, crisis within the family, crisis within the client, crisis within the community. That's part and parcel of social work here in UK. When you come into social work, guys, because of crisis, social work is to deal with crisis. So there's always a duty system. Every local authority that you work here in UK have got their own duty system. Some social workers, some local authority, every social worker, group of social workers will cover duty every week. So maybe if you're a social worker within a local authority, at least once a month, you'll be covering duty. But again, every local authority operates their duty system differently. But expect that when you come into social work, part of your role, part of your responsibility is to go in and cover duty. And when you are on duty, believe me or not, crisis will come in and you need to cover those crises. Guys, one of the reasons why I'm saying that social work is not walking in the park, social work is not like drinking cup of tea with your colleagues at the office, is that in social work, there are so many burdens, like I said, that you're going to carry. I remember a friend of mine who is new into social work called me and was asking me, have you ever taken the client issue to bed? Have you ever taken your client issues at home? And I said to her, join the queue. Join the queue, because this is the reality of social work. Unfortunately, as much as I don't want to, but the reality of social work is that if you are not careful, then the burden of your client, the issue of your client, you carry it out home with you. And even when you are going to bed, that is the reality of social work. You go to bed with carrying the burden of your client, carrying the burden of the crisis that you're dealing with. So in social work, believe me or not, it's not walking in the park. Social work is not drinking cup of tea in the office and hanging out with your friends. There's crisis you're going to deal with. There are people's burdens that will come onto your shoulder, and you are responsible and you are accountable as a profession. And if you're not careful, that's where you're going to feel very overwhelmed. If you're not careful, that's where you're going to feel stressed out. And if you don't get the support out there from your manager, from the people that you are working with, that's when perhaps you must start thinking of leaving the profession and finding a different profession altogether. Guys, when I say that social work is not a walk in the park, research is backing me up. I've put a lot of research in the description box so you can check for yourself. The research is saying so many professionals have done their social work degree or their master's or social work program, but they've left the profession because of how much stress they experience in social work. And perhaps maybe they're not getting the support that they need, the right support that they need to manage the stresses in social work, and then they leave the profession. That is why in social work here in UK, there's so many vacancies around across the UK, across England. Social work is highly in demand because it's one of the stressful jobs. Excuse me to say, I have to be open with you guys. It's one of the stressful jobs here in UK. It's something that needs to be done. Somebody needs to obviously have the compassion, have the passion to work and support the vulnerable people in society. But believe me or not, there are so many issues that you're going to deal with, and you're going to deal with a lot of stress, a lot of difficulties, and you have to be aware, be prepared emotionally, mentally, physically. So when it comes your way, you learn to deal with it. You learn to minimize it. So you stay in the profession, so you don't leave the profession. I always say that social work is never-ending job. Honestly, when you deal with one crisis and another crisis comes in, and then you manage to put support in place and you stabilize the situation, and then maybe perhaps you close the client's case, and then another client comes to you and you start dealing with the crisis, and it goes on and on and on and on. So how are you going to support yourself? How are you going to manage your own emotions? How are you going to manage your own mental health? Dealing with crisis upon crisis, time and time and time and time again. How are you going to cope and manage? You need to ask yourself before making a decision to come into this profession. Guys, one of the reasons why I'm saying social work is not a walk in the park is the amount of paperwork that comes with it. I know about the difficulties of crisis and dealing with crisis, difficulties of your clients, and on top of that, paperwork is waiting for you. When you run around and doing all your visits, the work is not done. There are visits to be put on the system. There are recordings to be done. Social work, the research is saying, and what I'm saying is backed by research, is so bureaucratic, There's so much paperwork that you need to come across before you can help your client, before you can empower your client, before you can do direct work with your client. There's so much paperwork you need to do. There is so much you need to do. So when you go to the office, social work is not going to the office and drinking a cup of tea. When you come into social work, then you understand the reality of what I'm talking to you in terms of how much paperwork you need to encounter, how much paperwork you need to do in social work. I've done it for 12 years. I'm still doing social work. So I'm talking to you with an experience. I'm talking to you with examples. I'm talking to you of my lived experience as a social worker here in UK. So guys, I want to say is that how do you deal with all these issues? There's so many ways you can deal with it. Social work is not walking in the park. Social work is not going to the office and drinking a cup of tea with your colleagues. Social work is about trying to make a good outcome for your client. Social work is about providing positive outcome for your client. But you yourself need to deal with your own difficulties. You yourself need to deal with your own challenges. You yourself need to find strategies that can help you to manage some of the challenges, some of the difficulties that social work will bring to you. I always say to myself, how are you going to support vulnerable people if yourself, you as a professional, you are not even able to manage your own emotions, you are not even able to manage your own mental health, you are not even able to take care of yourself? How are you able to cater for vulnerable people? How are you able to cater for people who needs your attention, who needs your love, your empathy, your caring, and you yourself, you are not being empathetic towards yourself, you are not caring yourself, you are not showing self-love to yourself? If you are not even showing self-love to yourself, how are you going to show love to clients? Watch out for the part 2, where I'm going to share strategies, techniques that can help you to manage some of the difficulties, some of the stresses that you encounter when you come into social work. I want to end by saying your dreams and your aspiration can come true. You will never know. But what you need to do, one of the strategies that you need to take to be able to achieve your dreams and aspiration is to work hard towards your dreams and aspiration. Definitely there will be challenges, there will be difficulties, but if you stay focused and if you stay consistent, definitely, who knows, you'll be able to achieve whatever you plan for your future. Take care of yourself and see you on my next video. Bye.